Bridget Hyde was born around 1662 into the family of Sir Thomas Hyde, the second baronet, and his wife, Mary Hyde. Her father died shortly after her birth, leaving Bridget the sole heiress to a fortune estimated at around £100,000. Her mother, known for her beauty, later remarried. Her second husband was Sir Robert Viner. He became both stepfather and legal guardian to the young heiress. The family belonged to the elite. Sir Robert Viner was Lord Mayor of London and banker to the king, and from infancy, Bridget was considered a highly desirable match due to her inheritance. As Bridget grew up, her stepfather developed ambitious plans for her marriage. Lord Treasurer Thomas Osborne, Earl of Danby, later the first Duke of Leeds, proposed a union between his son, Peregrine Osborne, then styled Viscount Dunblane, and the young heiress. Viner was willing to accept this match in exchange for the cancellation of his enormous debts, which had accrued from loans made to King Charles II. However, Bridget's maternal relatives had other plans. In 1674, when Lady Mary Viner became seriously ill, 12-year-old Bridget was sent to the care of her aunts, her mother's sisters, Susan and Sarah, in Hertfordshire. These aunts were less well off. Both had married brothers with the surname Emerton, who served as estate stewards for the Hyde family. Fearing the loss of influence and income if Bridget married into the powerful Danby family, the aunts decided to act first. In October of 1674, the aunts secretly arranged Bridget's marriage to her cousin, John Emerton, the son of one of the husbands of Bridget's aunts. The ceremony was likely presented to the young girl as a harmless game so as not to alarm her. The wedding was officiated by John Brandling, a clergyman of questionable reputation, making the ceremony semi-legal at best. According to existing records, the marriage took place on the 1st of October, 1674, when Bridget was about 12 years old. Later, Bridget herself acknowledged that such a ceremony had taken place. There is disagreement, however, as to who orchestrated the affair. John Emerton claimed the wedding had been arranged with the knowledge and insistence of Lady Mary Viner, Bridget's mother, and by Miss Bridget's own will. But the more widely accepted version is that her ill mother did not participate, and that the aunts acted behind the stepfather's back. Their primary motivation was likely to retain control over Bridget's fortune within the family. News of the secret marriage surfaced a few months later. Sir Robert Viner found out on the 3rd of January, 1675, and was furious. Initially, according to Emerton, Viner acknowledged the marriage and demanded sworn testimony from witnesses to affirm its legality. But soon he realized the union derailed his own plans and undermined his influence over his stepdaughter. Sir Robert accused his wife's relatives of deception and filed a petition in ecclesiastical court to have the marriage annulled. He also isolated Bridget, bringing her back under his guardianship to prevent further interference from her mother's family. A long legal battle began between the stepfather and the Emerton clan, lasting several years. The matter was debated in both ecclesiastical and civil courts. While the church was still deciding the validity of the marriage, John Emerton filed a civil claim in January of 1676, asserting his rights as Bridget's husband and demanding possession of part of her estate. This move effectively brought the question of the marriage's validity before a jury. The jury ruled in Emerton's favor. It was declared that he was indeed married to Bridget Hyde. On the same day, the 11th of May, 1676, the royal court issued a writ to Sir Robert Viner, demanding that he present Bridget, now referred to as the wife of John Emerton, and formerly known as Bridget Hyde, sole daughter and heir of Sir Thomas Hyde, in court. Emerton had legally established his marital status and demanded his wife be released from her stepfather's custody. Viner stubbornly refused and denied the marriage altogether. The case became more complicated and dragged on. Witnesses were threatened and bribed. The priest who had performed the ceremony, John Brandling, was allegedly intercepted on his way to London by 10 armed men, dragged from his carriage, and, under threat of death, forced to recant. Terrified, he denied before the king in Whitehall that he had performed the wedding. But later, overcome by guilt, he confessed the truth to Sir Robert Viner and returned the bribes he had received. Despite Viner's efforts, the church court delayed its ruling for 6 years. Only in 1680 did it deliver a verdict. The marriage between Bridget and John Emerton was valid. The decision may have been influenced by technicalities. Key witnesses on Viner's side were no longer available. The ruling meant Emerton was legally Bridget's husband and had claim to her wealth. He even received temporary possession of part of her estate. For Bridget, this potentially meant shifting from the role of a wealthy heiress to that of a wife under full legal control of a man she had not chosen. During the ongoing legal chaos, Bridget's fate remained uncertain. In 1678, a dramatic incident occurred. A man named Henry Roth, a former family acquaintance, attempted to kidnap 16-year-old Bridget from her stepfather's home. Under the pretense of a friendly visit, Roth came to dinner at the Viner estate in Ickenham. After the meal, he suddenly drew a pistol, seized the terrified girl, and fled with her in a carriage, intending to ferry her across the river to Richmond. Sir Robert gave immediate chase. Roth was caught and arrested, and Bridget was safely returned, although the assailant had torn off her amber necklace and handkerchief. Official records from 1678 document the attack. Roth and his accomplices assaulted Bridget Hyde, daughter of the late Sir Thomas Hyde, Baronet, on the public road and robbed her, stealing 3 silk hoods, a silk scarf, a lace handkerchief, and amber beads. Roth was prosecuted for robbery but failed to force a marriage. Bridget, a married girl with no living parents, remained legally and socially vulnerable. After the kidnapping, Bridget returned to her stepfather's protection, but Lord Danby did not abandon his ambitions to ally his family with the Hydes. Though several years had passed, he still sought a union between his son Peregrine Osborne and Bridget. From 1680 onward, once the church validated Emerton's marriage, negotiations began between Danby, Viner, and Emerton. The goal seemed to be persuading Emerton to relinquish his rights in exchange for a financial settlement. Contemporary observers noted that John Emerton, not being of noble rank, mainly sought material benefit from marrying a rich heiress. Negotiations dragged on for 2 years. Apparently, the parties could not agree on a price for Bridget's freedom. The impatient suitor took matters into his own hands. In early 1682, Peregrine Osborne acted directly. 18-year-old Bridget, weary of endless legal entanglements, did not resist. In April of 1682, Bridget and Peregrine were secretly married at the Church of St. Mary in Marylebone, London, a location known for discreet ceremonies. Despite the legal barriers and presence of a first husband, Bridget married Peregrine Osborne. Soon afterward, fate turned in favor of the influential Osbornes. The church court, which had previously sided with Emerton, suddenly reversed its position and declared the marriage invalid. It is likely Emerton had finally agreed to a settlement and renounced his claims. He may have received significant financial compensation. Whatever the case, all obstacles were removed, and Bridget's union with Peregrine Osborne became legally valid. Marriage to Peregrine drastically changed Bridget's life. She entered the upper echelons of late 17th century English nobility. Peregrine Osborne, a nobleman by birth, rose in court and naval circles. His father, Lord Danby, regained political favor after the Glorious Revolution. In 1689 he was made Marquess of Carmarthen, and in 1694 Duke of Leeds. Peregrine inherited his father's titles in 1712, becoming the second Duke of Leeds, and Bridget, in turn, became Duchess of Leeds. Despite the seemingly happy resolution of her long ordeal, Bridget's later life was mixed. On one hand, she had finally entered the kind of marriage planned for her since childhood and assumed a prestigious social role. The couple had 4 children, including sons who carried on the Osborne family line. On the other hand, personal happiness proved more elusive. Sources note that Peregrine Osborne was extravagant and quickly squandered much of his wife's fortune. Just a few years into their marriage, people said Lord Dunblane was eating through his wife's estate. Bridget's wealthy dowry diminished, and she even had to sell some of her family silver to cover his expenses. Still, early accounts suggest she was genuinely happy for a time. One letter from the period marveled, "Lord Dunblane dances day and night with his wife, and she adores him." Bridget Osborne lived a long life. She died in March of 1734 at the age of 71, having outlived her husband by several years. Her final years were likely quiet, far removed from the dramas of her youth. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.